together and how he looped all of his 7 principles. But Mark, I was told to read this book, and so I got it and I started to read it. It really, really had an impact on the branding message that I have. And, here it is. And so in concept about having a hero and a guide, the hero of my brand is the person that I interview, and the guide is me. Mm-hmm. And so I really started to think about a lot of the marketing statements that I use. And I started to say, probably not saying these things enough that builds the compelling reasons why people come to the show and listen and learn or do what they have to do. So that's
a
me.
Great book. It's a great book, that, dude. It's one that I've got over there on the whatever that is. Just to kind of, I think you can dip in and out of that one as well. And one of the challenges I think a lot of people have in business is when they're not making the money they need to make, like if they're selling services or products or whatever, they forget why people tend to buy. And that kind of book brings you back into the why they buy. So you kind of get out of sales mode and into marketing mode, which is really different. So I think I think everyone should have that book. I think that's a really good story.
Everybody should. I'm telling you, I'm just like all over that book. I read 3/4 of it between the airplane ride here and there.
Good. It is really good. And it puts you in that mindset of brand as well. I think a lot of people think of brand as something totally different to what it actually is. So fair play. Is that you?
Yeah, all of my
notes.
I love it. Well done, man. Honestly, and it's good. Just to kind of, put a bit of context on Federal Mogul. You think last year where you were when it came around to October, things feel very different this year. So well done. You should be proud of this year. Just take a second, step back and look at it.
Yeah, I know. When I look at my downloads and where they are, something really cool is going on. I mean, I'm really growing, and the last 7 days, if I equated that out, that's 250,000 for the year. I mean, I never could potentially see a number like that, and so I was happy to see that. Can I hit a high water mark every day? Well, I'm slowly ramping up. It ebbs and tides like the stock market, but it was great to see the last 7 days. So
good. Well done. Good. An apex to come as well. That's only an even better thing.
It's going to be great. Everything. So I'm kind of on top of the mountain, but who knows if I can replace their income. I just, to tell you the truth, Mark, I really do believe that if they can't give me an answer, I reach out to the industry and the alumni and some big leaders in it, and I say, hey, listen, they're out. I need somebody. I got a feeling there's some people out there that so believe in what I'm doing that I may be able to rustle something up.
I don't disagree with that at all, and I think honesty is the best policy with it. I think if you tell that story of, look, I've been honored for these things, tell the story that you just told about, but in the room, and really play to that. Can you help me to keep doing this? There's nothing to be afraid of with that, or anything to be shy of with that. I think it's a very strong position. So yeah, well done, man. You should be proud of this year.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Nice play. Rick, I'm going to come to you, sir. How's the week been? What's going on? Wins, challenges, the ups, the downs. What's been going on?
Actually, it's been kind of an interesting week. I had 4 colleges and universities reach out to me for the Man of Masculinity program. So we're in discussions with 4 of them. I think each one of them has a very high probability of moving forward, so that's pretty cool.
Wow. Well done.
Today I do the first one at Cal Poly University here this evening, so I've got a busy day of getting that final stuff together. There's not really much, just making sure I've got all the stuff done, but it's been a lot of learning, because as I put it together, I'm having to think, okay, how do I take this show on the road, so to speak, because there's lots of moving pieces, plus how do I get all this stuff somewhere. So it's been good to have the local college here to kind of do this quote dry run, and then to think, okay, based on what I've designed so far, how do I not only take it on the road physically, take all this stuff that goes with it, but how do I do it for larger and larger groups? So one of the colleges said they had 150 people they would like to put through this. And I said, that's awesome. That means we probably need to do this workshop at least 3 times in one day, because it's not the sort of thing that you can do with that large of a group. So, so yeah, it's all cool. So I think that's the win and the challenge, is now that I'm getting some traction, I have to take it to the next level and go, okay, given that there's this experience, it's not just a let's stand in front and talk. I've got to really start thinking about how this looks when it's on the road. So that's it.
Well done, dude. That's amazing news. And is that, does that come from the kind of outreach that you did a couple of weeks ago, the last time we spoke? Have they come naturally? Like, where do those leads come from?
You know, I think what's happening is because of what's happening here in the U.S. That's what's getting the attention. I think it's rather than sending out more outreaches on a daily basis, because we're trying to blow through a list and determine if this list is really worth what we invested in. So we're trying to really get it going. Plus, we're at a critical stage in the school year where if we don't get through this list, plans are all, I mean, they're already made for most of the schools for the fall. So if we don't get something out right now and get it done, we may not even get spring. So I would say that most of these that I'm talking to right now are all spring events. So it's a combination of stuff. Plus, like I said, the message, men and masculinity in a Me Too world is definitely riveting right now. So I had one college actually say to me, I think this is something every college should be bringing on their campus. So, so that, I think that's part of it.
Let's get that as a testimony on the site.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like
Exactly.
that. What I like about that is that not the transition, because it's not a transition as such. It's more of a development of the brand and of you and your voice. But what I like about that is that it feels like you're more confident being in that space now. So I think that if you think about the ecosystem that you've got to put in place, you know, the sales, what you're doing with the schools and colleges, but also kind of your branding, your marketing, it feels like the more of these you do, the more comfortable you'll be doing that, which in turn will lead to more of these things landing. So it feels like you probably just, you know, you can tip the snowball down the hill with a few more of these. So that's awesome. How are you feeling kind of stepping into that space? Because I know a couple of weeks ago you were kind of, actually, how far am I able to go personally? Like, how's that feeling?
Well, somebody challenged me last week and said, I mean, one of the colleges challenged me, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And then a friend of mine said to me, well, I don't get it. How does this fit with you being the coming out coach? And I said, it fits perfectly, because what I'm teaching men to do is come out and be who they're really meant to be in themselves.
Yeah.
And if they don't want to be some masculine asshole, then they need to stand up and say, I'm no longer willing to do this. If they want to come out and say, I want to be more compassionate, or I want to be the kind of leader that really listens and guides, then it's a coming out journey. And so actually there's no stretch here. This is exactly the same stuff I've always been doing. I'm just taking on one more element to it. Mm-hmm. And to help men step up and say, I'm going to stand with women, marginalized communities, whatever, that could be a huge coming out journey for some guys. So this is what it's all about. And pretty much, I mean, I knew he was just challenging me to get me to say it, but it made it much easier. And so when the college challenged me and said, well, what's your background? What makes you the expert in this arena? It was really easy to say my expertise comes from the fact that as a gay man, I have learned the challenges of coming out to take a stand and be who I am. And the same techniques I have learned to help other people come out of the closet are the same techniques I'm bringing in to helping men stand powerfully in their masculinity. So it became pretty natural.
That's a lot tighter than last time we spoke on it. That feels like everything's just slotted into your mind there a little bit. You know, because it was always felt like it was kind of that's coming out of the closet and the bold move thing, and then this is men and masculinity. It felt like they were just kind of rubbing up the wrong way a little bit. Right. And I think now you've, like you said, now you've aligned them. It's just one more closet, and it's. I think that works really well, dude. What's the kind of the status with sponsorship? How did that go? And what's the status with you?
I haven't heard back from them, which is interesting because they were kind of gung-ho and they would send me some stuff. So that's a follow-up thing. But right now I'm focused on getting through this first experience tonight.
Okay.
So I'll readdress it later this week, or
Rick,
I've got another gig next week that I've got to get ready for too. So
Rick, I'm confused. Is tonight a workshop or just what's tonight?
Tonight's the very first workshop for men and masculinity on the college front.
How cool. So, I mean, again, the timeliness couldn't be better. I mean, the advisor and I were talking, we met last Thursday, and he's like, we have been working on this for over a year. And he said, it's so interesting that a year, last spring we were supposed to do this. And he goes, it's so ironic that tonight's the night you're going to be doing this, given what's going on. You're going to have a lot of inertia that will come off of this, pictures, videos, whatever you can get done.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to try. So it's a small group. It's 20 guys, which is perfect.
What's the age range, Rick?
They're all freshmen through seniors.
Nice.
So, we'll see whatever we can get. I mean, I'm going in solo, so I'm going to have to kind of lean on the advisor to potentially take some photos and stuff for me. I'm not going to do any filming because I don't want this to be that thing that, interrupts the experience. But if I can get some good photos and stuff, that's going to be good enough for me.
You know what I did?
And I'm learning stuff about contracts too, because the school sent back. So I actually sent him a contract, even though this is not. So I think I may have shared this with you guys. This first one is not paid. This is the beta program. And from this one, if this goes well, this will become the standard quarterly, maybe even more frequently, but at least the standard quarterly indoctrination for guys that are joining this group on campus. So mine will be the kickoff every quarter. So the contract, kind of had deposits and stuff in there, but it said not, I put in not applicable. But the one thing that I asked for was testimonials, and the legal department struck that out. They said, we can't actually endorse anything because we're technically part of the state of California. So it's just interesting stuff you start to learn as these things unfold. So anyway.
Interesting. And if I don't know if you're willing to share this, but what would that sell for? What would you put that out at?
Well, I quoted one college last week, $2,500 if they only want the workshops. I said, if you're going to do, I said, typically, if you want me to come in and do the keynote on top of that, it's $3,500. But I said, if you do the 3 workshops, I'll bring it down to $2,000 for the package deal for the day.
Okay.
So really, I want to get, if I'm going to do 2 workshops and a keynote, I want to stick to $3,500. Because that's a lot in one day.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, you got to figure, I got to fly in the day before. Probably most places, even if I'm just trying to stick to the West Coast, most places I probably won't be able to fly out that evening. Mm-hmm. So I've got 2 hotel nights plus the flight. So $3,500 would be a minimum.
Cool, man.
My bookings in Calgary and Vancouver next year are $3,500 a piece plus. So I've got no expenses in it, and I'll be doing a keynote, a roundtable, and facilitating a workshop all within a couple of days. I don't know the timing of anything, but that's what I committed to.
Yeah.
And what do you call it, Carm? Plus?
A flight.
Oh, yeah, plus
flight
expenses. Yeah. See, I'm doing mine all inclusive.
Yeah.
Right.
Only because if it's a West Coast thing, it's actually pretty easy for me to if I had to go fly across the country now, it would be plus expenses.
My West Coast price is $3,500 plus expenses. My East Coast is $2,500.
You got to just play to the market and the location there, haven't you? You've got to be sensible. And Rick, I think the inclusive stuff often makes people feel better, especially like in the school system or in the system where people are a little bit more, well, we can give you this, but we can't give you the expenses. It just makes life easy. But Calm, obviously being a little bit more commercial, people actually do want the expenses on top because they can see, well, we're paying this as a fee, and we can actually, we've got some control over the expenses here. So it's interesting to see how people structure that stuff. I know people do we were talking about Gary Vee being booked for Thrive last week, and what they paid for that, and the fees that went on top of it and the expenses. And they preferred the inclusive price for that one. So I'm always curious about how you guys do it and what people respond to.
I don't know. I checked in with some of the trainers that I know really well, people that I've interviewed, and I've asked a couple of them, could you share really confidentially with me what, well, Carm, we won't share exactly, but I'll give you some ballparks. And I said, great, structure the contract. What's the agreement look like? And he says, listen, your time is valuable. If you travel to the West Coast, you got to get more money. Now, Carm, it doesn't mean that you can't discount to get your ass off the ground, but you need to start at a number that's up there, not start down here and try to go up there. Start there and say, hey, listen, the first time I'm coming out to the West, you're an alumni of the show. And listen, I'll give you $1,000 discount because you want the gig, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't discount this Canadian stuff. It's amazing. I said to myself, let me try the retail rack price and see what happens. They bought twice, right? So
that's how it goes sometimes.
And I think part of it is getting comfortable. Like there's one school that's in Spokane. My parents live like 40 minutes away from there. So I said, if you guys do this, I'll give you a break because my parents live there, so I can make it, something else. He doesn't know that the break I'm going to give him is the same break I would do, because now he said, well, I think he goes, I want to do this at least twice. He's the one who had like 150 students. He goes, I would like to do this. And I said, well, it's going to have to be at least 3 times. He goes, but I also want our sexual awareness and prevention team to look at this and see if it will work. He goes, so that would be 4. I said, well, then that's going to be a 2-day gig. So I said, here's what I can do. It's normally 3,500, but if we're going to spread it out over 2 days, I said, we'll probably go for like 2,500, somewhere between 2,000 and 2,500, given however many you do. And all I'm doing in my own head is I want $500 a pop for every time I'm doing a workshop right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you just got to know how to quickly think on your feet when you're in those spaces. And I know the West Coast travel kind of costs pretty well, that I know I can, what it's going to take to get me wherever I need to go. So, and then I did one for Arizona, and that one came right. He said, we don't need a keynote, but he goes, I'm quite sure we're going to need to do this at least 3 times over 2 days. And I said, you might look at your gender equality, people on campus, or if there's a women's group that would like to have me come speak about this. And he goes, oh, that's a good idea. He goes, we might be able to fill you up with 2 days of events. And I said, okay, well then if that's the case, we need to talk about, what the total package looks like. So we'll see. It's all not until they put the deposit down, nothing happens. So
that's good. Yeah, keep them to the deposit. Well played, man. That's good. It feels like you're a lot lighter as well. So I'm pleased to see that, man. Well done. Really, really pleased to see that. So good luck this evening. Let me know on Slack. Let us all know how it goes tomorrow morning when you've got back. Congratulations, my man, Raf, the bearded wonder himself. What's going on, dude? Give us the win in the challenge.
What's up, guys?
It just grew a ½ inch in the last half hour.
Look, it's actually looking pretty good. I might keep it.
Well, let's not go too far.
All right, so one of my major wins is having this group. I tell you what, man, this is a deep well that I love drawing from. So thank you guys. You guys are just kicking ass and taking names, and this is where I want to be. So thank you guys for that. So I have a really cool win. Not sure how it really happened just yet, but it happened. So I don't know if you guys recall back a few weeks back. Andrea was talking about if I heard of the Travis Manion Foundation. They did a big run here in Annapolis. And I said, oh yeah, I know about them, but I'm not connected. Well, I got connected to them. They want me to come hang out with them in their headquarters in Philadelphia. And they want me to, drumroll, speak at high schools on leadership and character. So it's a pro bono gig. But being here and listening to you guys, the gig is going to, I think, pay off dividends in the future because, one, I'm now, quote unquote, speaking, and then teaching high school seniors the importance on character does matter and leadership. And they want to the foundation wanting to living concept and how I was able to work through my entrepreneurial challenges and pop out at the other end and all that. So basically, I'm telling my story through this foundation, and this foundation is big league. I mean, we're talking majors. So anyways, that's very exciting. big win there. The other one is, if you guys recall, on the last Monday, I was going to go to the dog folks, the Warrior Canine Connection. So as you start getting at these levels, they're all related. At the WCC event were big money sponsors, to include Davis or Travis Manion folks. I mean, it's all, you start kind of getting at this upper echelon. You start seeing the players. So I can see Carm and place myself sort of in Carm's spot where, you know, he's playing at that top tier, and you start seeing the interrelation, the connections, the relationships that how they connect. So I'm slowly getting brought into that fold. People love Serve. They love the message. They're excited for me. So that's a huge win. My challenge, and it's a blessing of a challenge, I have inadvertently found myself in a position to take on a multi-million-dollar program manager position with my day job. So I would be the program manager for the entire, this is projected, it's not locked in yet, but I'm negotiating. Basically, I'd be the program manager for the entire, the United States search and rescue satellite system. So it has multi-agency facets. The real cool part about it is I stay, so I have to leave my federal government position to take this position. So I'm leaving my federal manager position to potentially to go be private industry, but I'm dealing with my same agency that I just left and the DoD and international parties. So the payout is tremendous. It's kind of a crazy number of a salary. I shared Mark and I said, basically, like, you know, what do I do? I'm kind of nervous that it will take away from Serve. But what I've learned from this group is that when you have money like that, we have options. So if I do get that position, I will be hiring on a VA and very rapidly learning that world. I'm supposed to have a meeting with the vice president of the company on Wednesday. I'm going to shave my beard. I bought a new suit yesterday. I went to Brooks Brothers, invested the money. I have to go to the tailor today. So it's executive level stuff. So my first mentor before Mark is a guy named Greg Coleman. And he did the startup, and he's got this multi-million-dollar company now, the whole bit. So it's really neat where I can send him a text and I get a call back from him within a few hours. And he gave me this, and kind of over the weekend I was unsettled in the whole thing, and I'm talking to him, and he said, don't take this the wrong way, but you have to really just ponder upon this, and I wanted to share this with the group. Eagles don't ask pigeons for advice. And it's not a power thing, but he was basically saying an eagle soars so high up that you can see way different. But an eagle's vision is so laser ray, he can see a little mouse way down there, right? And what he was just getting at is, you know, when you start asking on these big player moves, you know, you ask other eagles. So I wanted to share this with this group, that this is an eagle group. And I just wanted to thank you guys, because in the way that we talk and the way that you guys have developed me, I know that I can walk into that interview and it's my position to let go versus me hoping that I get selected for the position. So it's very interesting. It's not being cocky.
It's yours to lose.
It's mine to lose. Mine to say, you know what? I don't think it's going to be the right fit, versus me hoping that it's the right fit. And the money is there, but the one key thing that I'm really nervous about is the exchange of time for money. And right now with Serve kind of starting to gear up, like this whole thing with the Travis Manion, right? They say, hey, can you go speak at this high school? And normally right now, my schedule's so flexible that I could say, yep, no problem. But now if I'm this big player in this company, you know, problem, potential, I don't know. So that's it. That's my challenge. Served is moving along, so I'm excited on where we're going with that, and I'm gearing towards the November 1st date. Here in the next 2 weeks, we'll have a soft launch on the website. So it's getting there. We're getting there. We're growing. We're about to do this. So I'm excited. Thanks, guys.
Good, dude. Well played. And I think we obviously spoke in a little bit of depth about the position on Slack. I think that's a given. You know, I think it's a logical step. And the way to think about it is it's not really restrictive. It gives you space. People don't really want money in our position. Like, money's easy to get. We can all find money. You know, actually, what this new position allows you to do is actually gain more time. And the reason for that is that you can hire 1, 2, 3 VAs on that salary and not have to worry about it. And suddenly you've got 120 hours a week that you didn't have before. And suddenly you're able to put everything out that you weren't able to put out before.
Oh, you're saying, okay, let me process this. So you're saying just because I'm going to be tied up in this office making this type of salary doesn't directly equate to the potential that. So then how would I be able to handle like the speaking stuff?
So the easiest way to do that one is you just book further out, or you work at, you become, so your goal switches ever so slightly. You become the leader that people want, and where it becomes, it's almost like this position. You've got to be willing to lose it so that you can win it. And it's similar in this regard, like with these speaking gigs, is that you can say, well, look, I've got my team. We put all this content out, which is then positioning you as the expert, almost not in a passive way, but in a way that requires a much lighter touch from you. But what you can then do is start to say to people, well, you want me to speak at colleges? Actually, I've got commitments and I can do these dates at these times. I'd love to make it work. But if not, actually, let's figure something else out for next year. And what you're going to remember is time goes quickly. And this thing that you think, shit, I need to get done today, and if I say no to this opportunity today, it's never going to come again. That's not true. Next year it'll come around, but it'll come around 6 months earlier, and you can plan for it. So it's just, it becomes no jobs are forever jobs. They never are. You either retire or you get bored. Yeah. That's it. And even if you do 2-3 years at this thing, it gives you plenty of scope to build Served, because you can be still working weekends. You can still be working. You know what you're like. You'll butterfly between these things anyway. You'll get focused on one thing. The one thing that I would say is just try and protect a couple of hours per week to really focus on it, and really, really kind of just say, right, this is Served time. Whether that's recording, whether that's going out to meet vets, you just need to stick to your goal of giving out the stickers. Now, the really cool thing with that is that if you've got 2 or 3 VAs, the stickers can move online a lot easier. And you can throw advertisements at it. You can throw things at this that you can't right now. So the goal doesn't change. It's give out as many stickers, but suddenly you're maybe doing a little bit less face-to-face, and you're doing personalized videos and sending them handwritten letters instead. It will work, is what I'm saying. And you use the revenue that you're creating to buy space.
Buy space, okay. So I'll share with you guys, the revenue of this position is so crazy that I was just sort of plotting out the next year. I can be completely debt-free with this salary in about a year. And I'm thinking, if I just kept right now that we're used to and just use that money to build a runway, 3 years from now, I can walk and say, I have a runway the family's taking care of. Now let's really take Served into hyperspeed and blow that up further. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm thinking. So just sort of a go, no-go process that we do in the military and in government. So Mark, you would say, go into this meeting with the VP and grab it?
Oh yeah. I don't see any downside to it. You're working now. Why not increase your revenue and keep working? What's the difference? There is literally no difference. It might take a little bit more time, but the other way to think about it is that in a year's time, 18 months' time, you've proved your worth. You've got a bit of equity in your own personality that you can go to the CEO and say, you know what? Actually, I want to do 4 days a week. So you've got, when you're at the higher up the chain you get, the more leverage you get. And if you can prove that, then yeah. So I think you can't avoid this one.
Let me share you my perspective. if you said to someone, I need some help to grow served. It is too important. I don't want to lose it. Yet I have this opportunity over here. So you reach out to someone and say, I need an investment from somebody to keep served alive, to keep it growing. And it's got to keep going. The investment is the new salary.
Exactly.
If you work out with your wife and family that you're going to carve out 10 or 12,000 of that salary a year to go to a VA that is going to work 40 hours for you, that is going to keep this thing going, and you're just going to have to channel stuff there. And it also reminds me that executives still work inside communities. They're going to pantries and they're helping the Boy Scouts, and they're speaking and they're doing things. And so if you got to leave at 4:00 one day to go out and speak somewhere, yeah, you could partly bring the fact that you're a leader in this space, hook it to character, to bring it to served, and and then 2 weekends a month you could carve out 3 or 4 or 5 hours. I think you have a hell of an opportunity. Number one, family, retirement, education, all that stuff. Maslow's hierarchy. Please, you have an opportunity to do good for you, good for the family, and served could very possibly grow for the fact that you changed jobs because you had the money to do it.
I agree totally with that. And being able to self-finance is huge. Like, one of the things that really holds most businesses back, especially businesses that require numbers quickly, not consulting and stuff like that, where it's you kind of paying yourself. It's things that require numbers are often held back by the inability to grow a team quickly. So the opportunity is not there. It's just the cost of that opportunity, which can't be funded. And that's why VCs exist, and why angels exist, and why tech businesses do what they do. So Cam, I think you're right on the money with that one. And I think the only worry from a family side would be just the time spent on both. Can you cut the cake both ways and have it? And I think writing, as Cam said, really dedicating, okay, we're going to put 20 grand, 30 grand, 40 grand a year into this business to protect my time. Suddenly you get everyone on board with it.
I'm doing this for you, family, for all these reasons. And but I'm also going to I need to do something for myself, and that is to keep served alive and to carve out some money, because someday it's going to be huge, and you're not going to need that job. I love your concept about the 4-day a week, and that'll throw 1 day for served. I think your best part of served, Raf, is your presence, you being out there. I come by the Baltimore airport yesterday, and I landed and I walked down the aisle, and all these Medal of Honor winners that I think were going to be honored, their plaques were there. And I also saw the guys in the orange shirts. What's the flight? They bring them to Washington.
Honor flight.
Yeah. There were like hundreds of them in the airport. I go, God, if Raf was here. I mean, it's out there, man. I mean,
and it's a slow burner. It is a slow burner. It's almost like a tech company, and that you need the number. Your single metric. The only thing that you should be measuring is how many stickers have we given out, and then eventually. You transpose that into the engagement. You've got to get a critical mass. It's like a wave when it crests. It suddenly all the energy's there, and it's dissipating and it's spreading itself evenly. Where at the minute you're building the energy up, so I think you've got to just focus on that number, and you can use this to do that. Suddenly you can buy the pucks, and you can send 50 pucks per year to corporations where you can't do that now.
Right.
So you just
So sorry to cut you off, but the whole family thing. So this should actually have been my first win. They were there with me at this Warrior Canine Connection. We got up at 7 a.m. We were there from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. And then we went to an event after as well. It was a church event. And I bumped into some new served members that were church members that I didn't realize. And anyway, so we were literally serving it from 7 a.m. to about 10 p.m. And I thanked my wife. I said, this was amazing. the whole clan, everybody, we were there. And so I'm getting a lot of buy-in from the family. So I think I can do this. Thanks, guys. And I understand what you're saying, and I think that's why I think that I can do the 3-year runway, 4-year runway, because I understand this tidal wave kind of component. Right? It starts way out, thousands of miles out in the ocean, and it just starts building, and this wave is just eventually going to crest. And that's not happening this year, and it potentially is not going to happen next year, but I anticipate that 2020 timeframe, it's going to be
good,
my
man.
year.
That ties into, I know we've only got 10 minutes. It's been a good session to actually focus on that stuff, though. I think it's a bigger picture thing, which actually leads me in, but it being the 1st of October, that gives us 3 months left of the year. And the thing that I want to talk about, it's funny you mentioned this eagle kind of view. The thing that I wanted to dig into today a little bit was the strategic stuff. So we're all talking next Tuesday, and I want really you guys to have a vision by next Tuesday. And I'm talking a big fucking crazy, mental, audacious as shit vision that everyone else would laugh at. And I'll give you the reason why for this one. And I've kind of kept this to myself as well over the last year. Right at the beginning of when we started what we do with podcast websites, we kind of got questioned a little bit by the old guard in podcasting. Like, why is this required? Why do you need this? You can just get your own WordPress site, blah, 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 blah. And they just missed the point of it. They totally missed the point of it. So you kind of come up against this thing where people don't really see what you're doing. But in my mind, that was just one part of the vision. And it's only this year we've been able to start doing other things. So we've got obviously productivity's playing its part. We've actually got another thing that we're doing, which is going to come out. And what we're going to start to do is over the next 2 to 3 months, you're going to see a lot of big changes, and a lot of the story stuff, Cam, that we were talking about just a second ago, a lot of that is going to play in. Now that vision, that entire ecosystem, that entire thing that we're going to now start putting out there has been in my head for the last 4 years. And it's required the stepping stones to get to it. The reason that I'm mentioning that is that I want you guys for next Tuesday to really map out your vision. And I'll give you the example of ours so you can kind of see what I'm thinking with this one, because I think it's important to get that vision down. So in my mind, we were just Podcast Websites Limited, Podcast Websites LLC, whatever. That's one product. In my mind, there was always a vision of actually, we need a platform that does this because people are missing this part of it, the web, the kind of consulting, that whole support system and the platform and everything. So that's one bit. Then people needed the knowledge, they needed the support, the community, a place to go to get things on their terms, which is why we rolled the Academy out, which is now at 1,200 members after 2 months, 3 months. So it's, that's working. That's the second part of the ecosystem. The third part is we know that we need to do something that's a standalone media host, which is you can host, if you want to pay just $12 a month to compete directly with Libsyn, then we need that. But what we'll do is podcast websites members will get that for free, and it's part of that system, but it's a separately branded product, so it stands alone. So we've got 3 parts of the ecosystem. And then this thing is the last thing that ties into it, productivity, which ties into it, which is actually in the engagement space. It's in the interaction space. And then you wrap that around everything. And theoretically, everything a podcaster needs, either at the lowest level or the highest level, we've got within our ecosystem. That was always the vision. So the reason I'm telling you that is that actually the ecosystem that is there for you guys exists in what you're doing today. So what I want you to start to think about is actually, what does this look like in 3 years? So Cam, actually, what are the facets of revenue that you can bring? But also, what is that organizational structure of the business? Who's the CMO? Who's running the finances? Who's doing the day-to-day marketing? What are you doing every single day? And how long is it going to take? Is that 1 year? Is it 2 years? Is it 3 years? What's the revenue? Where is that all coming from? Same with you, Rick. Actually, is this Men and Masculinity course something that you can franchise? What's the big picture? Where are you earning your money from? Raf, you've got this amazing opportunity. What does that look like 1 year, 2 year, 3 years down the line? And make it so audacious that people won't get it. Can. 3 years, I want to be bought out by Federal Mogul. I want to sell this thing for $5 million, for $10 million, for $20 million, whatever. The really good thing with that is, and this is the old classic, but if you aim that high, you're going to do better than you thought you could. And that is always my goal. Like we've now, and I always sound a bit self-aggrandizing when I say stuff like this. It's not meant to be. It's more just illustrating. Like we get every single time get laughed out of the industry because we're a bit audacious. Like I put things on there like saying, okay, I'm going to meet Gary Vee. I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to go for a beer with him. And literally everyone beats me down for it. But now we've got an investment deck in Gary's personal hands. That's the stuff that people don't see. And I want you guys to start thinking like that. Like who do you need to piss off to get to that point? Who do you need to get alongside with? Who do you need to work with? And if the people that you do piss off, what can you do to strategically piss them off? What can you do to develop? Like I did a talk yesterday that just called out the whole industry of podcasting for being boring on the tech side. Literally. Why? Because I know that all those guys are going to go off to the media hosts and tell them. And it's going to seed in and it's going to make the right noise. So I know it sounds a bit random, but I want you to work on that vision. Like, what does that look like? What will you be earning? What will your team be? What will be your revenue channels? What will be your content channels? What will your perception in the industry be? What are you aiming for? And then every decision that you make for the next year can be run through that process. Like we knew that Dan was leaving when we did the design stuff, but we kind of weren't worried because we had the strategy in place. We didn't know how we were going to get there. And productivity is about 6 months behind. The new hosting product's about 4 months behind because of what happened. But the strategy didn't change. It stayed exactly the same. The tactics changed and the day-to-day changed and the decisions slightly got tweaked, but actually the vision is still intact. And I think one of the biggest problems that you can find yourself in is that you're making decisions based on a next month basis and a next year basis. Whereas if you can say, actually, do you know what? Here's this opportunity to go to London to have a beer with this person. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to have that beer with that person because I know that actually my plan, my strategy requires someone like that in 3 years' time. Whereas when you need them in 3 years' time, if you start knocking on the door and saying, I need some stuff from you, it's not going to work. So it's like I said, I think that's an important thing to do now. You know, everyone's at this cusp of doing something more than we were doing last year. Calm. Your brand has just grown in the last 9 months. You can tangibly see what has happened. It's changed. Raf, mentally you're in a better place. You can see the potential that Serve's got. You can see exactly what you need to be doing and what numbers you need to be growing. And Rick, you've massively changed. You've rebranded. You've got Men and Masculinity. You're more confident and comfortable probably than I've ever seen you in this new stuff. And it feels like there's an excitement under the surface that hasn't been there for 3-4 months. So I want you to strategize that. And on Tuesday, I want to talk about what that vision is. And then we'll then dig into, okay, what are the missing pieces? What are the stoppers? What are the things that might not help me to get there? And we can start to work around them. Does that sound all right for you guys for next Tuesday? Do you mind doing that?
Sure.
Yeah, it's good. Good exercise. I think we're at a good point to carry that out effectively.
Good. And I'm going to read past Andrea as well. I know she can't be on the call today, but I'm going to ask Andrea to do the same thing. Does anyone want a productivity bottle, by the way? I can send some out to you. I brought 12 back. Imagine this scenario in my luggage. I brought 12 of these things back. What does that look like? 12 of those little bad boys lined up in a suitcase. And the TS.
Yes, aluminum, metal, right?
Fuckers. They're like this English guy going through customs with these pipe bombs. Like, thank you.
You know, you can send me one or two with the t-shirts that you have for me as well. You know,
I've got them in my wardrobe. I wear them every week.
Oh yeah, it's all right. I can wash them over here. It's cool.
No, I'll send you some out. I've got about 12, so I'll send some to you guys. I've got a couple more to send out. Cool. Right, any more thoughts before we wrap up? It's been a good session, just catching up with everyone. Everyone's on a really positive note. Any more thoughts, ideas around what I've just mentioned? No.
No, it's really good. It really fits in.
The only thing I can think of, Rick, is you have such a quality. You know, the thing that I'm lacking here, I'm a podcaster, and I'm talking to the guys that repair the cars, and I do have some very interesting experience at that level, but nowhere near the depth that the people that I interview have. So I've been able to really bridge that gap and ask the right and the tough questions and really be this, if you will, educator through storytelling. And here, Rick, you have lived it. And you are living it, and I find that your level of credibility in this space is so huge that I think your march forward right now with these opportunities is the strongest it's ever been since I've.
I totally back that up, Cam. Totally.
Yeah.
And so I guess my point is certain-confidence is one of the things that I think a lot about, that sometimes I do have certain moments in certain spaces. And to me, I think you've got it. You've got every reason to have 110% of it.
Well, thank you for saying that. So that is part of, I know that's part of the struggle right now. I'm afraid to get out there and say the things that I feel like I want to say and write the stuff I want to write. And it's starting to get, I think it's just, I told Mark the other day, it's just, I haven't been doing a lot of it. I used to do a ton of it when I was featured on HuffPost and all those other sites. I was writing every day. I was videoing every day, or close to every day. So I just need to get back into that practice, and it'll come. But to Ralph, to your point, back in 2002, I took a job that I thought, why am I taking this? Except I needed some work. And it was a third of the salary that I had been making. But it was also, I was the third employee hired on .com. And for 6 years, I grew that business with those people. And for 6 years, every time I took a step forward, I was able to write my own ticket because I took the risk. And by the end of the 6 years, when I finally got laid off, I was working from home 4 days a week. I started working 5 days a week in the office, commuting an hour and a half each way. The more credibility you create in the position, the more you'll be able to write your own ticket. And because of that experience, I've been working for myself since 2006. So don't give up. This is getting handed to you for a reason, bro. And,
yeah.
And you can form it. It's hard because we've been in such a world where everything is come to the office. And for some things, yes, that's actually what has to do. But if you don't believe that someday you can actually be in that kind of position, or let this position inform where you want to go, it'll never happen for you. And that's part of the reason I keep fighting and doing what I'm doing. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to that space where I need to walk in the office every day. And I think you have to buy into it yourself enough to get yourself pushed forward. So
cool, thank you.
The BHAG that Mark is talking about, the big hairy-ass goals, the audacious big hairy-ass goals, you need to set them for your new job, and use Rick's references to say that it goes back to part of the E-Myth thing, that every decision you make gets you to that final goal. So if you don't have that big audacious goal of, working 4 days a week and working from home as an example, the decisions you make over the course of time will never get you there if you didn't have that goal in mind.
Yeah.
I agree. You can filter all your decisions through that vision as well. Does it get me one step closer? Does this decision get me one step closer to it or not?
Yeah.
Right, guys, I'm going to shoot. I've got a nephew to give his birthday present to. That's going to be fun.
Awesome.
Cool.
It's going to be cake.
All right. Take care, everybody.
All right, guys.
Thank
you.
Good session. We'll check in on Slack, and remember, next Tuesday, get those visions ready, and we'll start to get them formalized up a little bit.
Okay.
Cool.
Bye. Much love. Bye.
Bye, guys.